I felt a kind of calling that happens in me at various times, and I've been having this sense like we got to go right into it, and I didn't just see it as a single person mission or something like that. I saw it as a we, those of us who want violence and war and things like that to stop. Here's your garlic. We know they got garlic, huh?
How long have you been here?
Here since 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah.
And how did you
Before
get?
that, I was in ICRC Public Center.
He was
in Hayatawat.
another hospital.
Another hospital. Were you
Yes.
able to get a wheelchair in the other hospital?
Yeah.
And you have a good grip in your hands. Oh, the hands. Oh, jeez. This one. Okay. See, now this man would be a great candidate to train to fix the wheelchairs, because he has good strength in his upper body, and he is, good brain, intelligent, and he could be trained, and then he could, because now you have no job.
Yeah.
You have a job?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Tailoring.
Tailor. Oh, a tailor.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to change your occupation, please.
I saw it in this particular situation as the willingness to go in the middle of it and just to actually start talking and meeting and in some ways getting in the midst of it people who want the peace.
Can we get off of here and never have to come back and
That's what I teach.
nothing like this again?
Well, see, it's a strange thing to say. There's nothing exactly like this. Like there supposedly are not any two snowflakes alike, but I think that's a lie. I think there are snowflakes that are exactly alike. I just like somebody to try to prove me wrong, that's all. I mean, it's as easy to make that statement as to say there's no two snowflakes alike as ever going to know. If a person adopts the attitude that this part of God's creation is bad, and that becomes a biting type of feeling consciousness, you will force yourself into return. And we're saying even at the last minute, if you go, thank God I'm getting off, I hate this place, it's like, whoa, watch out, you come back maybe in the form of a jackass and start up again. I don't know that it ever gets easier. I know that it seems to be different. If it gets easy, as though this is really easy and neat to handle, it also becomes very boring, and so becomes bad in another way. But I've never looked at them as bad as much as I just look at them. If it would just be one thing after another, it might be okay. But it's when it's the same thing over and over and never seeming to get free of the pattern. I think that's maybe the biggest problem that we deal with as a person, is when are they going to leave this type of thing alone? Just leave it alone. Well, as soon as you leave it alone inside of you and you don't care whether they do it or not, and you can't just say that. It has to be an authentic statement, like say what they want to, I don't care. As much as I say, like if you're standing, you say, people can think what they want to, I don't care, and that's a real statement from inside of you. If you can have that same thing towards the life here, it is what it does what it does, and people saying do what they do, and life is like that. And there's no but in there anywhere. It's just called. That doesn't mean that you don't have your preferences that you can live in or want to live in. But if at any place in there they have any kind of emotion that's demanding against a change, no matter how much you say, oh no, that's not true, because everybody can say that, it will be so. And if it's so, it's going to happen. Almost to the place where boredom becomes a great part of your reality is, in a sense, the word a good place to go to in the question that you've asked me. Like, I would rather just be ho-hum bored than have the throes of one thing or another. Now, out here in the world, I was down in Hemet today and drove down and drove back. And I never had anything wrong happen to me at all. When I came back up here, somebody had been sick, so I knew they had something happen to them, and other people were doing things. And I realized out there in the world, none of this is happening. Because I went out there, I came back, I'm fine. I sit here, I'm fine. So it isn't necessarily this planet that we're dealing with. It is you in this planet that we're dealing with. And then what you have to play with and how you play it will be how it ricochets or egoic recoil inside of you pulls you back from things. But at the same time, the only real answer to all this is expansion. It doesn't mean pushing through something. It doesn't mean go out and acquire another house or get 13 more children. It isn't a material expansion. It's an expansion inwardly where things happen. It's like when a baby throws up, and you don't say, oh my God, what a terrible thing, I'll never live to see the sunrise again. But you clean the baby up and you look to see what it threw up to see if there's something important there that you'd want to know. And if there is something important, then all you do is deal with the importance of it, which means you keep them away from it so that they can't do that again at this particular point in what they're eating. The same thing takes place in relationships. If you go into a relationship always with somehow a position that this will be the one or this will not be the one, neither one of those will be the one. But if the attitude is, in this relationship, I will expand inside of me so that no matter what my spouse does, I will attempt to expand to encompass that as being part of my okayness and their okayness. We don't go into relationships with the idea of complacency. And if we do, we've gone into them for entirely the wrong reason, because relationships are just support systems to work off karma. That's primarily what they are. And us saying to love, honor, and cherish through sickness, through health, through this, through that, till death do us part, is a statement of sort of saying, no matter what the karma is, we're going to do this. Karma can be relieved as we go through it many different ways, none really being, as far as I'm concerned, better or greater than the other. You can go through it smiling, gritting your teeth, crying, yelling, screaming, ranting, raving, or go to bed and sleep, as long as you're working through the karma. And if you say, well, I don't care to cry, I'll say, don't cry. You say, well, I end up crying. I go, well, make it okay then. If you say, well, I can, I go, boy, you've got some really strange karma. It's got a can't on you, so that you can't survive, or you can't this, or you can't that. It's more or less, if I want to, I can. If I don't want to, I don't have to. And in that particular position, probably most all the karma that comes around could be handled real well. And especially if we take the position that no matter who comes at us as a negative, if they knew better, they wouldn't do that because of what they're promoting against themselves. So why react to that? To get yourself caught up in their thing, because now they're going to be bringing you into their karmic flow and you won't be able to tell it from theirs. This particular planet is a lesson type of planet, or a classroom, or a teaching, learning situation. And really all it's doing is presenting information to us individually and collectively in a group like this to say, here's the lesson, how have you learned it? Not how in terms of emotion, but how, like, do you pick up a pencil and do you write it down? Do you type it? Do you smile at it? Do you walk away from it? How did you learn it? And then, how do you present it to yourself and others? If you judge and torment and pick on yourself, it shows you didn't learn it. And that you're rehearsing it, trying to make it something you'll know that you won't do again. It's very strange. Once you learn it, you don't do it again. And once you don't learn it, you do it again and again and again in different disguises until you realize it's not this thing that I do, but it is my attitude by which I do it. And so people come up to you and try to prod you, and you just say, no comment. Then they'll say, well, your no comment means guilt. I heard a fellow on the news, he says, no comment. And by that no comment, that doesn't mean for you to speculate that it is so. It is a no comment statement. And the people really respected that. And so no comment means, well, then you're hiding because there is something up there, and it goes right back into the presidency. I thought, how terrific just to say no comment, and that doesn't mean for you to speculate. But good God, why wouldn't people know it? No comment means a no comment. The only other way to do a no comment is to go, and then let them go to the next question. People, for the most part, think everybody lies, so they just continue asking the question over and over and over and over until you get sick and tired, like, didn't you hear the answer the first time around? Didn't you hear it the way you wanted to hear it? If not, how do you want to hear it? They say it, and you go, now you've just heard it. You want me to say that? Give me the piece of paper, write them down, and you repeat the words back to them. Is that what you wanted to hear? Yes, but you didn't mean it. So, okay, now I'm saying it with meaning. You say the same thing. They go, yeah, but I didn't get it. You go, okay, so you go up and smack them in the face and say, now did you get it? So now you've abused me. So there's just no way out there, the pleasing of karma to anyone. That's why I tell people, please yourself, because ultimately that's the last jurisdiction that anyone has to deal with in, is pleasing themselves. And let other people criticize if they will or make better what they want to. Ours is just strictly a presentation setup. We just present the creative aspect, then people participate in as they feel like it. It's none of these things should ever be looked at as a better or a worse, as much as these are just things that we do, and at various times we might do any one of a number of selections on it. If we put them on a hierarchy, if I were to sign books and there was no pen, I would use a crayon. Generally, I'd use a crayon, but if that's all there was, then the crayon isn't bad anymore. Now it's a functional thing. And so it's a matter of just using it that way. Reason says try to find the best equipment and tool to use with whatever you're working with. That's what reason says. And not having the best tool doesn't mean not to do. But it may certainly slow down the time and the method by which you do it. That's all. If it's worth doing, then you still do it anyway. Those are what all the scientists on the planet have done. You have to understand, before the computer was created, the concept was out there, but people still use pencil and papers and typewriters and et cetera, and adding machines and so forth. And before all that, they used pencil and paper and abacus and counting on the fingers and toes. People still count on their fingers. Just because it's not worth it to go to a computer right now. People still use pencil and paper because they don't carry a computer around. I'm saying that it's just a selection of what's appropriate for that moment in your space. There are other planets that parallel this that will give almost exact parallel existence, where we have a parallel body in another existence. And that parallel body is, in a sense of the word, duplicating this action someplace else. And it's sometimes, if the energy comes back across from that to us here, we sometimes feel the overpowering of something that we feel is ridiculous, that it shouldn't be that overpowering or that strong or that shocking or that something or other, and it's there on us. And sometimes it just stirs ancient memories also, where we've done those things before. See, karma is pretty accurate in its energy field, but it's not accurate in its memory. because it doesn't do memory, it just does, this is what you now do. And it doesn't say now because you did do that before, this is an exact thing of that again. It is not that. All memory is reconstruction. Even the karmic memory, if it's played out, is reconstructed. If somebody tells you a past life and the karma, they will reconstruct it for you because that's what it is. I wouldn't have to reconstruct me telling you're standing there. But I'm not using memory, I'm here now seeing. If you had joy and happiness in that same place where this still sits there, it's like your body-born karma. It's still sitting there. If that wasn't there and joy was there, you wouldn't be asking the question you asked. So I know it sits there, and knowing that it sits there, you have to say, how come? We could say why, and the answer is still going to be karma. And then well, how did that happen? The things in this lifetime stirred that awake, and it sits there now to come forward and be worked out. Is it worked out? No, because when it's worked out, it's gone, and we don't ask questions about that again. It's like this. How many of you asked questions about your 400th bowel movement you had in the past? You see, didn't even think to bring it up unless I made up that foolish thing, because it's gone. We can reflect upon bowel movements as a general statement. And I could say, how about the ones in Egypt? And you could probably reconstruct. But see, what you're doing is reconstructing, and if somebody else said, well, I saw that one you did, and it doesn't sound like what you described it. And you're describing it from the interior memory of what the pressure was like. They're looking at it from the exterior memory of what the pressure looked like. Was it the same thing? Probably enough that people say, well, but I did that 4 or 5 times, so I don't know which one. Then we say, well, then it's similar enough so that it's recognized. What happens is the thought energy leaves the body, and you go, yeah, that's close enough. And so it's clear, but it doesn't clear up the karma. It just clears up the pressure. So, and the lifting of pressure, I'd tell you, I'd love to have pressure lifted off me periodically. Because once it goes, you just go, woo, and you feel like you could lay in air and float, like you could float in water. And you try to do that, and it won't let you float in the air. The karma says, you don't float with this, you hang in. What else?
I had this conception that when we got free of the wheel of 84,
That means you're dead and you're off.
the planet, and we're not hooked into the karma anymore.
Not into the karma anymore. You're free.
Free for what? Where do we go?
We go into diverse fields of consciousness, sometimes referred to euphemistically as the bright or the light. And we go precisely to the level that our consciousness in the spirit can allow itself to be in without turning from it into the darkness again. Now, I can't tell you where that is, because in this room we're still in the sunlight. And if you go outside and the sun's up there behind you, you're still okay. But as you turn to it and start to look directly in the sun, then your position towards that inside is going to change. And you may turn back again and come back inside because you don't want to be blinded by that. The spirit does not allow you to do that. It will allow you to go outside to the porch and stand out there where it's bright, and that's the level that you can go to at that moment. After you've adjusted to it, then you're allowed to turn a little more and more to it until at some point you're able to lift up to it, or you converge yourself into it, which is going to be the easiest way anyway. You become the sun, or you become the spirit, or you become God, and then it's just a gravitational type of field. You just move to it, or you don't really move to it as much as you become in that place. So there's really, in that great sense of the word, there's no place to go because we're right there now. We're just not there now in a way where we can know it. And the remarkable thing about that statement is, look how brilliant, divine creators we are that we're able to block ourselves from our own light revelation of God in us. That means there's a great power residing in us, a great, great power. It can block us and allow us to live in illusions while it still lives in the bright. And it doesn't have any impatience because it's in the bright and there's no time reference. Down here, the mind produces time references, and of course then produces impatiences and produces how much longer, God, how much longer. God has never answered, and there's a statement called, not even God knows the time of Jesus' return. Or only God knows, and he hasn't told anybody. So then you say, well, when will it be? Well, people now are speculating on what God's going to say and think based upon words in the book. They asked me, what do you think? I said, well, yeah, I just keep my eyes open because it might be any second. And it won't hurt if your eyes are open if he doesn't appear for an hour, because at least you got your eyes open. And if it takes a year, there's no problem with that either. The problems are always the internal energy field inside of us and how we let it play inside of us and push us. That's the place we're dealing with. If we come into the loving of God, body, mind, and soul, and that becomes a flow through the divine energy, we're no longer in time fields. We're no longer in time, we're through time. And so it's just eternal nowness, what happens, you relax. People that have gone into this to some degree or another will often look worse physically than somebody that hasn't got into it, because the person that's into it says, why muck around keeping the body up? I would rather put my time into the spirit. And in there, they don't know it, but their body will get corpulent, fat. They'll build up energy fields all through this part of their body. Amazing. And you say, well, if you're so divine, why are you in such a physical mess? Those don't correlate together. Not at all. Now, that's not a reason to use your fatness to say you've been in the divine. Well, you have to understand, if I don't take that away from you, you'll be using that on somebody. I must be getting more and more divine. There are many souls that look upon this planet that we're on as the God heavens and the place to be, and strive mightily to come into a physical form. To experience this, this is like God's Disneyland. I call it Disneyland in a garbage can, in reference to the places that we are heir to and that we go to. And I found other planets that have not quite as much physical density that are much more fun to vacation on, if you can call those things vacations. But I've gone to Disneyland and got sick on the popcorn and sick on the food and sick on the rides and sick on the heat and sick of everything, and went home and said, what a day, that I look forward to going to and enjoyed for a little while. And had I gone out, left in 3 hours, I'd have probably been fine. Well, now I go to those places and I don't think I'll do all of this in 1 hour. Nor do I think I'm going to do all this earth in 1 incarnation. But that type of enthusiasm is what propels us here. It's kind of a fool. If you get off the wheel of 84, you're in the soul plane or above. And if you're not, then it follows that all those planes are in the field of 84. Do you think the sun in the sky shining on this place looks at it as a garbage dump? Or looks at the place as ongoing growth and creativity? These places we go to, we look at the same way. I look at them as garbage dumps, but I've never said, I hate that. I've just said, don't try to get complacent here. There are better places. Many people like to come back here, and the desires of their subtle body will pull them back into incarnations after incarnations here. They like it. They love the thrill of the flesh, the sensation that the flesh brings to it. Anybody that's had sexual intercourse in terms of the sensation will say, that was enjoyable, because they go after it again. Anyone who's eaten the food that they like, that they go after again, will tell you that's a sensation they like. Anybody that's seen somebody that they loved and loved the feeling they feel will tell you that's a sensation that they like. Those are all sensations of the flesh, because we don't feel them the same way in a different body. They're not felt the same way. You feel something, but you don't feel it like you do here. To me, these are very addictive. Even negative thinking, as bad as that hurts, people still stay in it because of the sensation it produces in the flesh. People will stick needles through their bodies because of the sensation it produces in the flesh. Some people love pain because after you have so much pain, you go through the other side, you're into a blissful consciousness. And people that are into that will say that's true. Most people go, well, I don't care to go into bliss through pain. But we still have to go into bliss through our own levels of behavior and our own addictions, physical or otherwise. Is it because I say so? No, I would rather be some other way also. I'm just telling you the light's on and I didn't turn it on. And if you look, you go, yep, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, and God is the author of that, then I find no reason to feel bad or criticize it. It hurts. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I don't feel bad about it. It hurts, and you go, wow, that really hurt, as an acknowledgement of how that happened. And then you're out of it, moving on to the next thing. I think what we're looking at is if we didn't have a lot of the social, political, religious mores coming at us, that there in a sense would be greater happiness and joy for all of us. Because we would then be doing what we like to do with the freedom to do what that is, not licensed to hurt anybody else, because they have the freedom to stand out of the way as we have freedom to stand out of the way. And there would just be ample room for all diversities to fit together as all vibrations fit in this room without colliding. I mean, look how many different people there are physically, plus levels of consciousness in here. And there's no catastrophes at all. There's no chaos. It's order. It is really very free. And we maintain our freedom by going in the direction of where we're going.
So is there a way to balance the heaven and earth?
Kingdom of heaven is inside. Got that? So the energies that you're bringing forward is to bring forward the creativity that is the kingdom of heaven. It's a consciousness level. It's called creation. And produce this in the world as you can. If it comes forward for you to do, and you do it and you complete it, it's balanced. If it comes forward to you to do, and you start and don't complete it, it's called karma. It's incomplete, it's breaking agreements, it's breaking contracts. All hell sits upon you for the next times. That wouldn't be something I would want for anybody. I'd say, don't start it unless you're going to do it. Don't agree to do it unless you're going to do it, or renegotiate the contract or agreement so you don't have to do it. But who in their right mind would renegotiate something that's favorable to everybody to make it favorable to one and not favorable to another one? That's called I win, you lose. How long would you participate in a you lose situation? You'd sabotage it to get out of it. You everybody understand this? We'd just sit inside and be negative about it. We'd smile, but inside we'd go into hell with you. And we would then start to undermine it. We'd psychically attack them. It would come back at us, we'd get sick, and we'd end up worse off. So the thing you go to do it with a willfulness of happiness. Like, I'm going to do this. Now, you can't say, I'm going to do this so everybody will enjoy it, because now you're going to control their enjoyment phase. And if you say, I'm going to put this out for them to participate in it according to how they participate, and if nobody buys it, you go, that's the way the thing went. You did yours. I would probably say, yeah, and there'd probably be a sense of disappointment, because that seems to be a matter of human behavior at this point in evolution. That if people don't appreciate and respond to our creativity, we feel like they didn't appreciate us, or they didn't support us, or whatever else we want to feel, instead of feel like we did it and do another one. And we do it and do it and do it until one does it. Then we stop doing that and we do something else, hopefully.
I keep looking to see what the gifts are.
The gifts are always
bring.
the uniqueness of our presentation of how we all play the piano exactly the same. That's always it. Why does somebody go to hear somebody sing, and then somebody, I probably wouldn't walk across the street to watch a hard metal band play, and other people fly thousands of miles. Well, why won't I? I don't like the uniqueness of their presentation. Do I appreciate that they're doing it? Absolutely, I appreciate it. Sure. I think there's a lot of things neat out there, like sharks in the ocean, and I don't care to swim with them. I went to a concert where kids were running around in front of the stage bashing into each other, and I thought, good God, they haven't been stimulated enough that they want to do this to each other? I left. The music bashed me. So, the gifts that each one's bringing forward is the uniqueness of the presentation. Not that they're going to bring forward new lightning and new electricity and new tape recorders, new televisions. They're here. Maybe they're going to do it, their uniqueness by the way they do it. And I've always found that to be true. Each one has their personality presentation. That I like to see. I don't think anyone should disown part of their personality in order to please a majority of people. I would say gravitate to those people that are also completing that part of their personality. Be with them to do that and own that back into your consciousness so that you become more complete and whole. See, every time we've ever shut ourselves down and didn't do something because of punishment, some part of us went numb or died or went to sleep, and we feel the unwholeness of that. And when we bring it forward by whatever expression, we feel that we've gained from it. Then we feel that the only way to bring other things forward is through the same expression, but that's not true. They don't work the same way. You don't bring forward children by the same way you bring forward a bowel movement. It may look and feel like the same to a lot of people, but they produce different things. So I'm saying you can't go into the same thing to produce different things. You have to learn how each thing is produced and then go into that method to produce it. And that's what education is about on this planet. Find out how the thing you want to do is done and go study it so you know it all real well, then produce it through your uniqueness. That's all we're dealing with. Very few people know the reasons why they get a degree from college to go be something or other when they went and did something else. I know people's got PhDs and all sorts of things that they never went into as their life. They just got the PhD. I think that it tends to open a few more doors than not having it. Just because people hear, oh, you got your doctorate degree in such and such. Wow. Well, come and sit at my table. And then if you got bad breath, they go, leave early. See, it's what we do with it after we get things. It's what we do with it after we get a shock, what we do with it after that. If we get a raise, what we do after that. If we get a compliment, what we do after that. If we get slandered, what we do after that. It's what we do after something, what we do with it, that seems to be the more important than what it is that comes towards us. There always seems to be something coming towards us. I mean, inevitably, somebody in this room has got an automobile accident coming towards them. After it hits your car, it's what you do afterwards. Well, it means that you're not hurt, you stop and see what the damage is. So you understand some of these things follow as a natural progression. There's not much damage. You go, well, it's a car wreck, but it wasn't any wreck. And everybody goes home and you don't do anything more with it. Other people, you call policemen to come down, take big, long things so you can persuade them of the rightness of what you did and the wrongness of what they did. That's what all that's about. Some people look at it and go, let's just have the insurance companies do it. Others go, let the attorneys do it. It's what you do after it that always seems to be problematical. And that's usually where the problem lies, how we go about doing that. It's not what I tell you that amounts to anything, it's what you do afterwards with what I say to you. If you feel like I insulted you, blew you out of the water, hurt you, then you respond one way. Now you may, strange as it may be, I go to sit down, somebody say, oh, how do you feel after what JR said and did to you up there? And you go, what? He was really nice. You used to see him when he's really cut me up and spit me out. And other people, when you've been cut and spit out, and they go, wow, I bet you feel a lot clearer. You don't have that baggage on you. And you go, see, it never matches. And so it just has to be for you that you decide things. I would never tell anybody your child is going to bring forward gifts in the terms of, now you see a baby at 6 months old, and so go buy a grand piano and tune it up because they're going to play the piano. They may play an accordion and not want the piano. But I tell them there's music in the child and there's great hand dexterity, and it looks like it's instrumental. And the child doesn't want to walk around, they want to sit a great deal. and that doesn't say piano, that says bass violin, it says organ, cello. Okay, everybody goes, whoa, you just start, maybe it's pots and pans and the old, I think the thing that I would always say to people is, whatever those things are you're going to do, have fun doing them. Or why do them? Because there just seems to be enough inherent misery in our perception because we're judging so much. That just say, well, judge me having fun, because that's what I'm going to do. Judge me doing things more joyful, because that's what I'm going to do. One of the wisest things I found out about heaven on earth is to never go into yourself to find the heaven on earth and then walk you into the pits of hell in the world. When I go back inside and into the kingdom, I often don't go a lot of places that I might have gone ordinarily. I just say pass. A lot of times I won't go out to dinner or lunch with somebody, not because of them, not because of the place we go, but the action that I've set in motion goes down the path to the dragon's house. And if I go that way, I can't come back, so I must continue on down into that and hope to get out the other side. So when you're sitting in the kingdom, you get to see very high where the path goes. And so often you say pass on things that seem innocuous, and you don't know why you say pass, but you just go pass. And people go, well, you should have gone there. You missed a wonderful party. Then later on you find out they're all dying of salmonella poisoning. And you go, thank God I didn't go. Have you people ever heard you've heard people say, I didn't go on the airplane, it crashed, I got this thing not to go. You said, pass, I won't go on this, I'll go on another one. Well, there are all sorts of these type of things in the world. Often they're not as startlingly big as the plane crashes or people massively died. Sometimes it's just that you weren't there when maybe people were in an uncompromising position and it was talked about, and in the talking about it was also said that you were there, and so you're drug into it even though you had nothing to do with it, except you were there. Like we're at Idlewild Isomata campus, and so some girl gets raped over here a mile away at part of the campus, and because we're here, then the Peace Theological Seminary name gets to be brought in, and not everybody who's here, your name gets to be brought into it also, and you go, what the hell did I have to do with that? I didn't even know about it. Well, if we'd known about it, we wouldn't have come up here. We'd have said, pass. Even though this is innocuous. Anybody coming in here and say, well, there's nothing bad going on here. This is fine. Everybody's behaving in a normal type of way. And I'm saying even things that would look like going to dinner with someone someplace, you may say, oh, that could be nice. I'm not going to go. And then you go, well, why am I not going? It's because someplace the kingdom is telling you, don't do that. If we don't listen to the voice, the urge, the intuition that issues forth from that, then why even bother to find it? Why do anything with it? Well, most of the time, what it gives us is never bad advice. It has always given superior advice and direction. Our interpreting it may not have superior direction and advice on it because we're going to do it from our wants and desires. Sometimes it's just the excitement of the chase is more wonderful than the getting what the thing you chased after. And so we have to say, what I started for at the age of 35 looked like it had all these other things around it. And now that I'm coming to the Lord at the end of 7 years and I look at everything I've chased through, I say, what for? Because if I want to do another 7 years like that, no, I am too valuable and worthy to have, let's say, any 7-year period. 3.5 years will be up karma, and 3.5 years will be down karma. That's because it cycles up and down. We go up and crave, and then we come down and we incubate, and we're so like a butterfly going into chrysalis and coming out to fly again. It's really rare that in the 7-year period we look at the beautiful things that we brought forward as much as we reflect upon the hell that we went through. Then we say, for instance, if I'm staying up here at Idlewild and I go, oh, I just love this time of year. And then the fall comes and I go, I just love fall, trees change. Then the snow comes and I can't get out of my house. Then the spring comes and I like things growing. But I'm not going to enjoy spring, summer, or fall because of the winter. And I'm saying 3 months of that can ruin the other 9 and make me say, why would I think that I'm getting value out of the other 9 when those 3 keep overshadowing it? So what I do is I move to some place where those other 3 months don't go into hatred, animosities, hurts, upsets, and I move to a place where there's sunshine most all the year round. So now I get 300 days of sunshine and 65 days of some sort of inclement weather. Then it's sort of nice because it lets me appreciate the sun. Now I'm setting myself up for a happier life. Where does that place exist? Well, one of the places that exists is over in Arizona, in Phoenix and Tucson, except 110 and 12-degree heat in the summertime. So I go, well, what do I want for that? And I say, well, the place that fits nice like that's the South California coast, from San Diego up to San Luis Obispo area. It's pretty nice. When you get higher than that, it starts to change. And so I say, well, this is what I'd like more of, and I can handle a lot more mediocrity on the real nice days. And then I get in California, and it's real nice, and then the smog comes in. I go, why do I live down here when there's so much smog? Then the smog goes out, and you get a beautiful day, and the mountains are beautiful, crystal clear, wonderful. And I go, well, now I know why I live here, so I can see those mountains once every 2 or 3 years. Then I go, that's got to be crazy for me to take in this terrible, death-dealing, health-destroying air to once in a while see those mountains. So now I got a choice. I can move, or I get in my car and I drive closer to the mountains so I can see them. But I actually drove for the ocean. I live here for the ocean. So then I get in a place where I can see the ocean almost anytime I want to. Anything the ocean does is just fine with me. It can rain out there, it can be smooth, it can be stormy, and I'm just so happy to sit there in my car and watch it. And when I get tired, I drive away. That's having control of your karma. Now, if I'm out there in a boat in the ocean, you understand, now I'm out in the thing, and now it's karma on me again. So what I'm going to do is start exercising. When somebody says, do you want to go for a boat ride, and it's a beautiful, sunshiny day, and I go, oh, yeah, I'd love that. I better start to say, what does the Weather Bureau say about the highs and lows coming in this afternoon? Because out there, it can change. Do I want to eat before I go or eat after I come back? And these are all things that are not to be punned, but food for thought. And you start to ask that. You start to ask the person, how long have you been out there? Oh, 2 or 3 times. Huh. I'm not going with you. It's a wonderful day. Do you like me? Yes, I like you. I'm not going with you. Why aren't you going with me? You've only been out there 2 or 3 times. Well, I'm real good. Great. I'm not going with you. When will you go with me? After you've been out there 2,000 times. Ask them. And so you pass on what seems to be a very innocuous thing. Other people go out and they say, my God, you should be glad you didn't come. We almost wrecked. Fool got caught in something we hadn't had before, and it hasn't appeared for 100 years on the ocean, and we were in it. I go, thank God you're here. Stop focusing upon the negative. Yeah, but now he sold the boat because he doesn't like it either. Life is like that. And all you do is just sit and look at people, and there's no judgments as much as you sit in amazement and you're still alive. If you're living in a place, and that doesn't add to what you sense to be your purpose of living in the Spirit and walking on the earth, then you start to see if you can change that. If the people you live with, called your maids and your servants and all those, if they're not doing it, you get others. And it's hard to get rid of your daughters, if they're not doing it. Because you might say, well, for them, I would give up a lot of things that I would normally do. I would not do them for my children. I say, that's a choice then. That's fine. They're included in the choice. And you might say, I might say, well, your sister. You go, well, she's fine. We've been together a long time. And I say, fine. We're talking about the kingdom of heaven and the Spirit and working here on the planet. We're not talking about familial relationships. Jesus said, even your family should be your enemy, because if you put them before me, you're not worthy of me. That's his approach to it. So he's saying, keep those in their proper place in the relationship to you, and you're questing and seeking of the kingdom. And then, yeah, and if it came down to, like in your case, your husband or me and my wife, do they have too much negativity, and do they stand in the way of what I'm doing and where I want to go? Say, hasta bye-bye. We'd be parting ways, or I might say, let's stay married, and I'll have this room over here, and you have that over there, and I'm having carpenters come in, and we're putting in a wall. There will not be a door in between. You want to talk to me, walk all the way down and come up here, and after you think that, and if you want to bad enough, I might. It's called existing with somebody. Now, these are hard things. We're talking about the kingdom of heaven and having you bring that forward into the planet. I'm telling you how valuable that is. Jesus talked about if you found a pearl in a field, you'd go sell everything else you had and go purchase that field to have that pearl in the field. And that isn't as valuable as the kingdom of heaven. He said you'd sell all you had. He gave analogy after analogy of the value of the kingdom of heaven. You would give up all things in the world for that. And that's what you're talking about to me when you say the kingdom of heaven. I'm saying these would be all things that would go, or all things that you would sell to purchase the valuable thing. And how valuable is it to you? And how you might say, well, at the present point in my life, for the last 7 years, it's been valuable to me because I've done it. But do I want to do 7 more years like that? I go, well, I don't know. You might say, well, I like where I live. I like other places I've lived, so living wherever I live, that's okay then. I go, fine, housing's out of the way. And who you live with and who you are going to associate with. And you say, well, they're all fine. I go, well, what really stands in the way then? If everything that you've got around you is fine, what is not so fine that you can't bring forward the kingdom of heaven inside of you and here on the earth? But I don't know how much irritation inside of you gets things done for you. If I got irritation inside of me about something because something wasn't being done, I've just now put another thing in front of me that's going to block to me getting the thing done. So I'd remove the irritation and go to the performance. What is the performance? And stay at the performance. I don't think I'd let the irritation get to me. I would probably get to me enough to know that it's not happening, unless somebody else brought it to me and said, here's all the garbage. And I go, whoa, I got to siphon through that. Yeah, I'm irritated. But I got to siphon through it, so I think I'll just start. If I'm going to start till tomorrow, and I'm going to be irritated all night and self-righteous about why I have to do it. But I have to do it if I have to do it. If I have to do it, you understand that, folks? I have to do it. So I do it. And I just drop away everything that will get in the way, any distraction, any sound, any TV, any radios, if I can have those on. I'm saying if they're going to be a distraction. If I got the radio on and they play music that irritates me, off goes the radio or change the station. In other words, get everything moving for you in that direction. And usually I won't take time to do SCs before that, for that. But I will take time to do SCs for me, that I stay in contact with the kingdom. But not for that. For that, I go do it. And as soon as I get towards the end, usually when you finish it, all of it's gone. I go, what happened? Well, I was doing it. I was holding the pressure. As soon as it's done, I let go of the pressure. Is the pressure bad? No, I use the pressure on me to get me to do it. It's a functional thing. When it's done, I let the pressure go. If I need more pressure, I can produce it. Can't we all? All you got to think is I'm not doing what somebody thinks I should be doing, and then you get pressure. The easiest thing is go ask them, what do you want me to be doing, and not produce the pressure. Produce the result. Psychic self-defense or psychic self-protection is important to have, not to stop things from coming your way, but to grow in such a way that you can expand to accept those as part of what's going on that doesn't disturb you. Let's say disturb you means that you then can no longer function towards what you want. I could use my having a headache before I come up here. I don't have that, but as an example. I'd be having a 9 or 10 headache, and I still come up and do it anyway. Well, did the headache stop me? No, it was in the way, but I kept going anyway. And I could have done better personally inside of me, maybe not better here, because it's the Spirit does it, inside of me if I hadn't have had the headache. But there's still no reason not to do it, unless it's a 10, which means I'm going to a hospital. That means I can't come here. The greatest psychic self-protection, defense, is to re-attune yourself to the spirit of the heart and the loving, the kingdom of heaven, and pull that spirit through, and it disconnects all that stuff. That's very easy to say. And it's very difficult to do because a psychic attack never comes in a state of preparation to fend it off. It always comes in as something that's very nice, like seduction, desires, or wants, and we open the door to it by that, and in it comes. I mean, the dragon not only comes in, it's got hooks all over it. And so when it goes out, now we're ripped apart, and we've got to heal ourselves from these strange things that happen. I'm not too sure that what people describe who work in these fields are really what's going on, as much as it's representational to them that something is not in alignment. And so it's just fix the thing wherein it's happening. For instance, if something comes into you, I'm not too anxious to get it out of you, but I'd like to know how it got in. Where was the doorway where it got in? Because usually right by the doorway is the fix. Because you can remove all sorts of psychic things out of you, and the next day they're in there again. You go, well, maybe it's just the statement of, well, that just goes with my being with you, that I get that. And I go, well, I don't know if I want to be with you then. I might, but I want to find out still, how do I do that? Maybe I got to just harden myself a little bit. So I do, and all of a sudden it stops, and I like to be with you, but I'm just going to keep this little hardness there, because that shuts the door where the evil dwells. Now we're still free to have all 99 and 99 100% of all the rest in a wonderful way, and I'll keep this 1% nailed shut. I'll do that, because otherwise I'm not getting anywhere close to the 99 and 99 100%. I'm just getting 99 and 99 100s. And I'm focusing upon that as a negative thing and a hurt and a withdrawal and symptomatic of not being able to perform. So I would seek to get free of it. And the seeking to get free of things often will free us. If you're in a bad marriage, a bad relationship, you start to seek somebody else that can do it, it's amazing how that bad relationship starts to free up. It starts to free up. You go, well, you know, this is a lot better, because if you sink or swim based upon a person, if they sink, you're dead. And if you swim, you always got to swim behind them. You can't swim with them, just because of that nature. It's just something that we look at situation to situation to situation, always looking. None of this is hard if we're willing to just look at it. But the whole statement is that we're all in a state of constant denial. Absolutely is true that we're all in a state of constant denial, or we'd all have the kingdom of heaven in all of us all the time with everybody. But being in a constant state of denial, to me, is not a negative thing of, oh my God, how terrible we are, as much as we still got some work to do to reveal more to us of how we don't have to deny and we can accept. And so we move into the first law of spirit and start accepting again. Very special.